Hello, this is Mark Zhang with the American Medical Extended Reality Association. I'm the president and uh, founder, and we're going to do our April monthly member meeting. So just getting this all set. Thanks, Moaz, for joining. Triton, I see you as well. We do this for those who are joining brand new. We do this every month, typically on the third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the American Medical Extended Reality Association is the medical society for medical extended reality. Recently, we're posting these member monthly meetings on YouTube. So the format is pretty standard. We'll do some updates, some news, and then we open it up at the end for an open forum. So without further ado, let's get going. All right. So for those that are joining live, when we open up the session for the open forum chat for members, just let me know on chat if you want to join. You ideally should be on desktop. I think it works actually now. I know it can work on mobile devices as well. It's just maybe not as elegant, let's say that. All right, so we'll go through the agenda, we'll do some announcements, and then we'll do open forum. This should be a pretty light one. It's been a fairly busy and active time. You know, the springtime for MedXR, going into summer, there's just a lot of events, and the American Medical Extended Reality Association was present, and we had some great activity over the last month. So probably the biggest thing that happened is during virtual medicine, where we had great attendance, we had our inaugural Fellow of Medical Extended Reality cohort. So we had a nice kind of a celebration and a certificate kind of event during virtual medicine. We have 19 members that represent kind of the wide interdisciplinary nature of Fellows of Medical Extended Reality. This is the inaugural class, and we plan on doing it again. So this is part of the value of being a full American Medical Extended Reality Association member, is with 2 years as a full member, plus a history of supporting the field of medical extended reality, whether it's through the support of things like the Journal of Medical Extended Reality, or creating new innovations, or just supporting the field through efforts across AMXRA and other groups. I would highly encourage members to apply. We'll likely do the next cohort over the next, probably in the same kind of time frame, October-ish next year, and plan to do a 2027. So really, really great event. We had great AMXRA presence at virtual medicine. Of course, we did the FMXR inauguration, and also we had a nice booth in tandem with our colleagues at Journal of Medical Extended Reality. So really, really great. Actually, last weekend, more AMXRA support. So Harvard XR happened in Boston, and American Medical Extended Reality Association had the medical panel during Harvard XR. So during that talk, I had the pleasure of emceeing a talk with 3 AMXRA members. So I want to thank Dr. Jeff Jacobson, Amanda McIntyre, and Dr. Min Lang for all participating in the speaker panel for Harvard XR. So again, another value add and benefit of being a AMXRA member is we both support the community, but also we leverage our members to speak at these events. So thank you all. And actually the other piece is for both virtual medicine and Harvard XR, because AMXRA, one of our key kind of I would say, tentpole kind of missions is to support the community for MedXR and be the community for MedXR. We had tickets for AMXRA members, so we were able to spread and share some of the tickets along with discounts to Harvard XR at Virtual Medicine. Okay, speaking of which, AMXRA is going to be part of the International Virtual Reality Healthcare Association Pavilion at AWE. So that's happening June 15th through the 18th. We will have a booth, and we also will have, as part of this, 3 AMXRA member tickets available. It's on a first come, first serve basis. So if you are interested and would like to attend AWE, please let me know. I do want to make sure that we focus and provide an opportunity for members who may have not already utilized this this kind of opportunity. So it's equitable and fair. And for those who want to take the ticket, the only ask is we won't cover your travel, but we'll give you a ticket, and you just have to help represent AMXRA at the conference and spend some time at the booth. It should be a lot of fun, and you know, I think we'll have. I think there's a speaking session, a panel that I'll be a part of, and I know some other AMXRA members will be speaking at panels as well. So otherwise, June 18th, June 16th through the 18th, and the week after, there is actually, this is more just FYI, there is a spatial computing healthcare summit happening in Germany. So Leipzig, Germany, first European Spatial Computing Healthcare Summit. I think AVP is going to have a pretty big, Apple Vision Pro is going to have a pretty big presence there. And 2-day summit, 200 international clinical experts. I think it might be pretty interesting. I'm not sure I will be there, but if anyone does end up going, any AMXRA members, please let me know, and please share your experience with the community. Be very interested to see like a trip report or something like that. It's a little pricey, 300 euros for registration, but you know what? It could be pretty cool. So that's what I got. That's what I got today. I see some folks in chat, so thanks for joining. And we're going to do open discussion. So for the folks viewing, if you'd like to join the conversation, please let me know, and I will open it up for conversation. So I see Triton, you're texting, so I'm going to assume you'd like to join. So I'm inviting you as a speaker. Okay. And then Moaz, Amanda, let me know if you'd like to join the, okay, Amanda, you're coming in. All right. Triton, how are you?
Doing well. How's it going, Mark?
Oh, I'm living the dream every day, every day. Moaz, do you want to join, or do you want to?
Every month we see you.
What's that?
You're in a different place every time we see you.
Yeah, you know, I have to, yeah, you know, the day job, right? So as long as there's internet, it works. Amanda, thank you for joining.
Yeah, no, first meeting here. Just wanted to say hi. I guess for those on the call, I'm Amanda. I'm the CEO of Cognificence. I have a product. We have 2 FDA clearances for treating patients with chronic low back pain or just chronic pain in general, and expanding the label. And we just got cleared to be using the Meta headsets because we previously were cleared using the Gear VR, which are not scalable anymore. So we just started commercializing 3 months ago, and just getting to know everyone in the ecosystem. I'd been pretty heads down for the past year, and so now really trying to connect with everyone, and really excited this community exists.
Well, congratulations, and thanks for joining. And since we're going to do a round of intros, we always do this for every meeting, even though, you know, there are a lot of regulars on the monthly meetings, especially since now we're posting them on YouTube. It's always helpful to do a round of intros. So Triton, how about yourself? Please give an introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. My name's Triton. I am the science lead at Doxime. We focus on delivering all kinds of telemedicine solutions for independent providers, clinics, enterprise level clients, all that kind of stuff. What I focus on specifically is our grant funded collaborations. So right now we're trying to build, I keep saying this, it's essentially the VR chat for telehealth. Really taking the HIPAA compliance thing into consideration, really trying to build this out from the ground up to be what providers need and want and what's missing from telehealth. So, Amanda, really cool to hear that you guys got approval with the Meta headsets. This is a big discussion that we always talk about here. So I'd love to hear more about that a little bit later, maybe. And yeah.
Definitely. I'm
Well,
based in
you know what,
San
actually,
Francisco, if anyone finds
we don't
themselves here.
really, it's open discussion. And, you know, I think the one like, you know, I would say house rule is we try not to make it too much of an ad, but you're doing some really interesting stuff. And I think it'd be very interesting for members. So, man, I'd love to learn more about your company and also your process. How was the journey to get to FDA?
Yeah, I guess a bit of color on me and stepping into this role. So I used to be on the venture capital side of things. My background is neuroengineering and helped launch the Jobs Family Office, Emerson Collective, and then move over to Jazz Venture Partners, which did a lot of early work in the digital therapeutic space, including helping launch and investing in applied VR. So I got to know that company very intimately and some of their science. And as I was kind of digging into like the next versions of the technology, came across Cognificence, which was very much just an SBAR science project. And as I was moving over to the operational side and taking a variety of roles, I just started working really closely with them. They had, by the SBAR, an initial phase 1 clinical trial, single arm, and they really had strong data, which is what I was nerding out about with their fMRI data and just early data. And so they actually submitted that initial data in 2023 for the initial clearance when they were using the Samsung Gear VR and got clearance. And so I stepped in as they were thinking about, you know, is this continuing to be a science project or could this be something more? Could this be a company? And stepped in as CEO almost 2 years ago. And so when I stepped in, we launched our SBIR2 clinical trial. And basically, once I stepped in, it was realizing like in order to scale this technology, bring it commercially, I was evaluating the different headsets, went with Meta for scale. And so it was great because the clinical trial, we were able to port everything over to Meta. And then also for our product, initially there's a personalization feature where you draw the patient's pain on an avatar, and that is what they're interacting with for the 8 weeks of their therapy. And that drawing process used to be in virtual reality, which really hard, again, like when thinking about scale, like amazing process. But if you want nurses to ever do it, or just even my team working with patients on a Zoom call, since everything is done virtually, we shifted that whole process over to the tablet. So once all of that was shifted over for the clinical trial, went through a special 510(k) process to really explain where we weren't doing anything differently clinically. It is purely different hardware. I'd say the process was a little bit longer than I was expecting. I know with government shutdowns and things like that, it was both, faster and slower. And I think that everyone was actually quite responsive. I think I was surprised that a lot of the questions I was getting about the technology was as if we were submitting like a brand new technology, not like hey, everything's the same except for the hardware, including like they were really pushing on a lot of the safety testing that we did that I thought was quite interesting, because it was like questions that on the testing that Meta as a consumer device had been doing. So those are things that stuck out to me, but compared to probably the first process where this was more of a new technology for the reviewer, probably a little bit more streamlined than usual, just because there were no changes to the software, to the protocol that patients are going through.
And tell us more about exactly what your solution is doing. And do you anticipate, so when you got your clearance for the Meta devices, is it, do you think the culture or from the discovery standpoint, do you think it'll be durable? So let's say, you know, you got it for Quest 2 or 3, and now there's, you know, in some future state, there's the next Quest. Are you going to have to do it again? Or is there a case where you're going to, you know, it will be portable because you've already got it cleared by that platform? How
Yeah, I
what's your
think
take
you can. That's a great question. I think from my initial conversations that I had with them, there's like kind of similar to like you can, record within your QMS system that you can like make ups, like, softwar updates, like little things that again don't change anything clinically. I think if you include like, hey, we're now if VR if MetaQuest 3 were to go obsolete and now it's just the 4, if you can make the case that everything is the same, nothing changes clinically, it's just slightly different versus like the MetaQuest headset is very different than the Samsung Gear, just different company, the very different, not being a phone inside of the plastic headset. I think it will be a much smoother process and not require that special 510K is my understanding. I think you still will have to communicate with them and get like some sort of letter of confirmation of that. But seems like a lot easier of a process. And I'm noticing, with each iteration, they're becoming more aware of these VR headsets across multiple companies. So I'm excited for that. To answer your question on like what exactly, like how our technology works, basically we're focused on rewiring the brain for patients who have chronic pain, and it's a very personalized procedure. So we're focused, it's using a variety of different protocols across 8 weeks of therapy. Happy to share for anyone afterwards, like have some materials if people are interested. But it's basically 8 weeks where we're stacking on skills that patients are learning. So it starts off with education around chronic pain. Then we begin with basic skills, everything from like deep breathing, somatic sensory reprocessing, move over and start doing things that more like graded motor imaging. It's a variety of cognitive behavioral therapy, fear avoidance therapy, graded motor imagery techniques across, and then it gets more into real world situations like how emotion affects pain, temperature affects pain, movement, and putting patients in these real world situations in their headsets to rewire their brains. And it becomes personalized both because they're interacting with an avatar that looks like them and has what they believe pain to be looking like and sounding like on their avatar. So, throbbing pain could mean one thing to one person, another thing to another person, but as long as they identify and say like, this is my avatar, this is my pain, that's what's important. And they interact with that throughout the variety of the modules and the treatments that they do. And it becomes more personalized because as they start to see the modules that work best for them, they can start doing those more. And we had really great results in our clinical trials. 80% of patients were positively impacted, reduced pain interference by 40%. I can share the paper as well, but we really have been excited to be now in, we're partnered with the largest pain clinic in California, mainly working with workers' comp and Medicare patients out here using a durable medical equipment reimbursement code. And so just started that process though 3 months ago. So we're going through the process of like, all right, why are we getting authorized versus denied, learning that side of things, as well as thinking about other channels to commercialize. So was actually just chatting with the Mind folks that are partnered with the VA, and I know the VA is trying to get, it's actually the Meta headset that the VA has now decided is like the headset they want in all of their patients' homes. But instead of having, 10 Meta headsets each with a different app, the VA is trying to create a library for all of their veterans. So it's been really exciting to connect with other companies who are thinking about distributing through other channels, even like the Hims and Hers of the world. Like, are they interested in having a chronic pain asset? Like, since this can all be virtual and digital. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Happy if anyone wants to like dig in deeper to the science, happy to share paper materials, things like that. Just excited to start getting a little bit more awareness of us out there.
Well, no, that's awesome. And thanks for joining, Amanda.
Yeah.
I see that Joe is here. So Joe, we're doing introductions. Do you want to do a intro and a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Joe Morgan, anesthesiologist and founder of a company called Waya Health. And that's all I really have to say in my introduction.
Well, I feel like you're doing some really exciting work. I mean, last couple of months, you and Bob Fine are really leading the way on this open HMD kind of concept.
That's right.
I feel like you tell us more. We always have to assume, especially now that these are being posted on YouTube to the public as well. There's a real great opportunity to just get the word out. So, Joe, tell us more about Open HMD.
Yeah, so Bob Fine, who founded International Virtual Reality Research Association, and I realized that there was a very painful and sort of urgent need within healthcare. Waya Health was founded in 2016, and we've been hardware agnostic all along. And perhaps stupidly, perhaps wisely, I don't know. Maybe 20 years when I look back retrospectively, we'll see if it was a good or bad move. But a lot of development effort has went into really retooling for devices, and the headsets are really great in terms of their capabilities, but they're all attenuated in terms of what they can actually do. And that leads to a bunch of downstream issues, which relate to the hardware, and is another subset that relates to just the sort of behaviors of the companies. To give an example on the latter, things like sort of ad hoc firmware updates that are pushed out without any sort of heads up and things like that, that breaking changes and so on. And so we know that in the private sector, which Y is doing very well in, we appreciate, no one wants Facebook. I mean, it's just, and it's, I think it would work, but they really haven't done a true enterprise headset. They're always going to, but it's kind of like the joke's over after 7+ years. So anyway, fast forward, and so we Wellevate has a small stake. Wellevate Waya Health has a small stake in Open HMD, but they do not have any control. It's essentially Bob Fine and I, and there's a running list of people that are interested, and we've already started to collect LOIs and MOUs, and there's a real, basically we're getting to a prototype. Our goal is hopefully June-ish for a very sort of rough prototype. Just think something like the HTC Vive one, which we affectionately called the Brick back in the day. It's going to be a very rough prototype, but then it'll, from iteration 1 to 2, it'll be a big jump, and we'll do a small run after that. And the idea is very simple. It is to build a headset, a head-mounted display. We're going to start out with a headset with pass-through, and we are going to build it for healthcare. And it ought to be fun and interesting. We have a lot of experience in hardware. We're very confident in our ability to do it, and there are certain supply constraints, but overall, I think it's totally doable. And there's been other small efforts, as you may have seen, Mark. You saw, unfortunately, Lynx, I think, who I was really super gung-ho on early, unfortunately didn't materialize.
Snake.
But it's possible, right? We know it's possible. And so we've actually been shocked. I mean, we started out just kind of thinking we want to fail fast, and please, if company X comes out with a real non-attenuated headset that really can be purpose-built for healthcare or purpose customized for healthcare, we would be happy to, sort of throw in the towel and be like, this is great. We've achieved our goal. Let's just do this. And then, this is 6 months ago, the conversation started, and we really wanted that to happen. And when it was clear that it wasn't, we got really serious, and this is over really since the beginning of the year. And, then we started talking with people, and the response, granted, we're talking, within the community and amongst people that are in the space with us, and the response is pretty universal. That this is, this is a real need, and it's holding the whole space back because you can't really, no one wants to go through the FDA with a device that either by the time you get through the process, it's obsolete in terms of the acceleration of technology, and then also no one wants to pay anywhere from, depending on what you're doing, whether it's biological safety or electrical safety, all of those things can be anywhere from and I'm totally ballparking, 30 to 100 grand for all these tests, and it's for something you don't even own. So this is like the sort of culmination of a lot of sort of work that Bob and I have done over the years, and really sort of investigating the possible pathways, and well, maybe we could make this work if it seems like either one of the headset companies were going to, for example, make their master device file available so that they wouldn't have, so for the electrical safety testing, for example, and even brought, like, this is one illustrative example, and so long story short is it became clear that that was not going to materialize as we anticipated, and so anyway, the effort really has formally started, and we've gotten great positive responses. We have a couple of folks that are already interested in investing, and I think it's really exciting because what it offers is the opportunity for select companies that are interested in doing this to have the chance for complete vertical, which is something that that completely changes the game, because otherwise you're akin to a very long, or you're tied to a very long product cycle, number one. Number two, you're tied to you don't control your own destiny, quite literally, with regards to the hardware, and there is somewhat of an intermediary between you and the customer, and so all of those things go away, and that obviously has greatly attenuated the ability of the space to accelerate in a way that can really help a lot of patients. And so that's where our focus lies, and we're looking to engage with folks April and May-ish, and really reach out to us if you're with a company, a potential hospital system, a potential research institution. We're essentially, there's investors, there's potential customers, there's potential partners, and we're talking actively with all of them. And I was, suffice to say, I was
Joe,
just blown away by how
nonprofit, right?
It is.
You guys are.
I'm sorry.
Are you guys doing is it a venture or a nonprofit? I thought it was a
No, it's
kind
an
of a nonprofit.
LLC. It's a company.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
an LLC.
Yeah, no, it's
All
meant
right.
to be a sustainable company, because that's another issue that exists within our space is we have, there's a certain amount of legitimacy that comes with a sustainable business model, and you can't help patients at scale if it's not sustainable. And I think the effects are quite, preaching to the choir with regards to, I guess, 4+ decades now of evidence in a variety of different, swim lanes, if you will. And it's overwhelming, really. And, why isn't this, really getting to the potential it should faster? I think it will eventually regardless, but, and this is the sort of elephant in the room. And so we're trying to tackle it head on.
Well, I think it's a pretty exciting, regardless of the whether it's an LLC or a nonprofit. I think the concept of a kind of healthcare specific headset is a fascinating. I remember getting lunch with Bob like back in December or January when he was like kind of thinking about this at an early stage, and I think I told him at that point, well, that's a crazy idea, and
Yeah.
And I'm also really impressed that you guys continue to move forward, because I think it's a noble idea, and I think it's very, very exciting to see the interest. And I'm really, it's a very interesting thing, man. Kudos, keep on moving. Well, I want to, this is the open forum. I mean, what's top of mind? I have a couple of things top of mind for me, but I'd love to just go around the horn. Triton, what's top of mind for you since we last talked?
So sure, I wanted to start by just kind of remarking on the spectrum we have in this group. We have Joe and Bob working on the real long-term need, which is there has to be competition against these big tech companies. There has to be a custom-made, purpose-made medical device that's available for people who want to implement this kind of technology in their care. So Joe and Bob, again, kudos to you all. If there's anything we can do to put wind in your sails, I think that is the future that AMXRA and basically anyone who's interested in immersive technology, this is that is the long-term path. And on the other end, Amanda, who just joined us this week, getting FDA clearance with a device that you can buy at a gas station is really fantastic. I have sort of a selfish question off the top of my head. Is like, I don't know how the regulation works. I don't know the FDA pathways. Is it to say that, like, with Amanda and her team having gotten clearance on a Quest device, would that make it easier if my company wanted to do that? Is this now the opening of the floodgates for anyone who wants to use a commercially available like Meta headset? Is the FDA about to get a whole bunch of new friends? Is my question.
I think it definitely will make it easier. I'd say it's like a piece of the puzzle, of course. So it's not just like, well, if you're using a Meta headset, then whatever you have on it is cleared. The heavy bulk of the diligence was around like the clinical data and like what actually patients are being exposed to. But kind of similar, to like us and our existing devices on a predicate device. When you're referring and making your case for like why they should clear you, you refer to previous cases. And so they actually, in the question, when you go back and forth after you submit your FDA clearance, you're going back and forth, answering their questions. And they wanted to get examples of, other companies, they don't even say VR, that are fulfilling certain compliance, safety needs that they want to see. And so we actually respond, and the more cases you have, like we had one company that was FDA cleared using the Meta headset, completely different indication, but that was like something that we included in our like, hey, like more, the user testing you're asking for isn't necessary because you already cleared a Meta device to be touching patients in this way. And that was actually, to maybe double click on your question, like the device we were referring to was a Meta Quest 2. And so they didn't actually push back being like, well, that's a 2 and you're a 3. But similarly, like right now, the other cases I was talking about was they using phones and how phones are, digital therapeutics that are using phones. Right now, I was listing some of those to answer some of their questions too, but the more cases of FDA cleared VR products that they have in their record, kind of the fewer questions and shorter the process I would think would go. And even in our first process, we were applying at a similar time as Applied VR, which we're using different headsets. And that was the initial like predicate device that we were going off of. So it's all about building that case. That's how it is for all of medical device. And so that's a long way of saying like, yes, it is helpful and we'll shorten that process, but it does not guarantee anything for sure.
I think it would actually be really interesting. It made me think, MedXR and this whole process, not only, digital therapeutics as a whole is still a pretty early kind of, it's early days, right? And building the precedent is kind of the, some of that early foundational work, right? The more it becomes kind of a precedent, the more the all ships rise, or what have you. With MedXR, you have like both the challenges of the software, but also the variable of like literally variable hardware, like as it goes. And what would be really interesting, and Amanda, for since you're new to this, one thing that I do a lot is I pontificate about things that I very explicitly will not do. So this is one of them. I'm not going to do this, but someone should do this. Someone, I think it'd be a pretty amazing contribution, particularly to the Journal of Medical Extended Reality, if someone were to write like either a commentary or some type of paper like just building the foundational precedent of FDA cleared solutions, right? Because that'll help everyone, I think, right? Like in the sense that, you know, and of course it means that for those in the industry doing this, you're giving some advantage to your competitors, but we all build off of the shoulders of others. And that would be, I think, a pretty exciting and super valuable contribution, and why we built the journal, right? To be able to do things like this and legitimize the field for everyone. So just some thoughts, shower thoughts. Cool. Well,
Yeah, that was actually relevant, I guess, for things I've been thinking about, you know, joining this community. Where I was looking to put some more energy this year is like understanding kind of what you said, like what are the journals, you know, especially as we're halfway through our current clinical trial, like where will it be most impactful to publish our data outside of, you know, our first paper was published in pain. And of course, we want to go down that those pathways. But I think the history of the company has been very focused on health and pain, and less so on just being a part of this XR field. And so if anyone has thoughts on like, yeah, the journals, who to be building relationships to learn what pieces are most interesting, as well as you mentioned at the beginning, like these conferences. I have, my career has mainly been going to like biotech, med tech conferences, but understanding like which of these conferences are most impactful for what reason. So this one seems like a lot more generalist, and like, yeah, who are the types of people that have gone from this community in the past? What have they gotten out of that? Doesn't have to be answered on this call, but that's where that's where I'm spending a little bit of time doing research to know where I should be plugging in.
I'm very biased, so I'm just going to say the Journal of Medical Extended Reality. That's the journal that we started. That's the official journal of the American Medical Extended Reality Association. But, you know, actually, I will say, in all fairness, there are other journals now. We were the first. We are the official journal of the society. I think that's important. But, you know, I think part of that is the community and the whole field is still early. So, you know, what's the saying, like having copycats, or there's a more pleasant way of saying that, but just means that there's interest in the field. So there are others as well that are perfectly cromulent, if not better, than cromulent. So, and then from a conference standpoint, you know, I think from my perspective, virtual medicine is a fantastic conference. I think the International Virtual Reality Healthcare Association conferences, so that's Bob Fine's organization, IVRA, that to me, those are the two kind of bedrock MedXR conferences in the United States, right? And, you know, one is at Cedars in LA, and the other is, at least for the last couple of years, has been in Florida. My only feedback is that they're like literally like a month away from one another. I wish they were a little bit more apart.
And I helped out with programming at LSI, the Life Science Intelligence Conference, like the MedTech specific conference, and that was like the week before virtual medicine, and so I just couldn't. The Cedars-Sinai folks were all there, and I had actually just found out about that conference. I'm like, oh, this seems extremely relevant, but this year.
VMed's the one. That's a great one. I would say from a like just general XR, I think AWE is probably that's like the CES-ish of XR conferences. It's the biggest I'm aware of, at least in the United States.
Like understand how everyone plays together and things.
It's a great conference. It's a lot of fun. It's always in Long Beach in June. As you know, as I mentioned in the beginning, AMXRA is going to have a booth, and we have tickets, three free tickets for AMXRA members. All you got to do is sit in the booth for a little bit, and that's the transaction. That's a good one. And then I think, like, you know, internationally, there have been a couple conferences. I mean, AWE, of course, has international conferences. I don't know of any that are like kind of have a long history or like, you know, repeat. I know UK had a medical XR conference last year. One of the AMXRA members actually led that. And I think there have been efforts in Germany through a colleague over at, oh my gosh, Lars, where's Lars?
Heidelberg University.
Yeah, that's right, Heidelberg. Yeah, Lars Riedel or
Yep, Riedelberg. Heidelberg.
Yep, Heidelberg. Yeah, yeah. But I think that's
That's
kind
a
of
good one.
it's pretty early.
It's small, but it's small, but it's like a really, everyone there is, you know, very hands-on. One comment to make on the conference is I think it's really advantageous to go to healthcare conferences.
Yeah.
I think to the extent as, you know, a greater space, the more that we can integrate or push extended reality into the healthcare conference.
It's like the
I think
norm.
that
It's not like a new thing. Yeah.
Right. And really that's a lot of what we've been working on the software side is setting things up so that extended reality is a first-class citizen. The headset is a first-class citizen right next to the stethoscope or something akin to that, because it's kind of a little bit too off in isolation, and it's not a novelty, right? It's a very omni-capable tool in many ways, and so bringing it into the central fold with the other tools in the toolbox is really, I think, something that again, same story. I think it's eventuality. It's just a question of, you know, how much can we speed it up. And one comment I also want to make, sorry to go back, I did want to, since we're publishing on YouTube, I want to be really clear that OpenHMD is totally open to working with other software companies in extended reality for healthcare. Like that's our purpose. So I wanted to make that abundantly clear. And you know, there's what we want to set it up, and you know, please reach out to us, you know, within the next month and a half, end of May-ish at the latest, because we really want to you know, have that door open, and there may be opportunities for other people to join later, but you know, we want to have that door open for 6 to 8 weeks so that people are interested can reach out, and we really want to have this be a blank canvas that you're starting out with that's fully functional, you know, and that you can, you know, you could out of the box load your APK on and it works, right? And so, and then you can go to your blue in the face with anything you want to add after that. And we are not building any walls or challenges to prevent that, just to kind of keep it, you know, locked down or whatever. You can lock it down.
So Joe, are you?
Yeah.
I'm making some I'm inferring some things here from what you're saying. It sounds like you might have some initial proposed specs or requirements. You know, so APK. So this is going to be Android based. Is that what you guys are leading?
Oh yeah.
towards?
No, that's one thing that's probably the strongest stake in the ground right now, because all systems are you know, if you go back in the sort of code tree, they're all Android forks. There's probably a couple exceptions to that. You know, Windows Mixed Reality, which we developed for a long time ago, was obviously not, but you know, that's the way to go, because that has a really strong ecosystem, and some of the fundamental capabilities, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And are you I mean, it sounds like standalone is the spec plus with pass through. Are you looking? Have you? Where are you in the just sense of like the power? Are you trying to meet like, you know, at least Quest 2 level, or?
Yeah, that's
is
about
that
right.
still-
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. Ideally, you know, we have an idea. We know that price is obviously important, but we also know that, you know, there's definitely a value. You know, speaking for myself, putting on the Waya hat here, like you know, having a headset that we have complete control over, you know, is probably worth at least double, you know, what the sort of COTS commercial off-the-shelf device cost is, and perhaps more, because, you know, again, it's like, you know, the difference between having a business that's, you know, got you know, lack of complete control over your business pipeline, really, versus you know, actually having something that you can use to start building out, like, let's start building out all of these indications that we know exist, that we know are possible. And as we all know, take a step back. The whole reason I got into digital health 15 some odd years ago was because I was very disappointed by the gap that existed between, you know, what's existing today. We have our phones, whatever, you know, and what makes its way into healthcare. And so it's really sad, right? And so we're now at a place where some of those walls are starting to break down. And, you know, the analogy with or the sort of comparison with artificial intelligence, I think, is instructive because, you know, we all know that there's a lot of synergy between the two technologies. But one thing that I think is perhaps more interesting is the long term. I actually am more bullish on extended reality, and that's because AI can itself take care. It's really good at a lot of the stuff that is fast to market. It's either non-FDA purview, like, you know, administrative tasks, back office tasks, and so on. It's also really good at, you know, let's just say unstructured data aggregation and insight gathering and data curation and so on. But really where the rubber meets the road with treating, assessing, or delivering care to patients, extended reality is the bigger level up, in my opinion. And so, you know, with regards to digital health, I mean, of course, AI is designing drugs and all these other things, but I think that it's really, we're at the right time. And the only other thing I'll say to tie it all together is that the other thing that we're going to do is make sure that this is not attenuated, the headset is not attenuated in its ability to leverage AI.
So Joe, you keep on saying that, you know, our current headsets, like the current solutions, are attenuated, and that
Yes.
open HMDs kind of spec whatnot. Like, explain that. What if, like, what does that mean? Attenuated,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
from your perspective.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, I won't give you the War and Peace version because we'll run out of time, but like, I'll just give one illustrated example. Like, if you are going to deploy on a Quest, you basically, well, first of all, they've kiboshed Quest for Business, right? So we know that. And so if you were banking on that, you know, sorry. That's number one. Number two is that they have this very convoluted process by which you have to have a Meta account, and you have to, you know, basically it's very tough to put. You can put it in a quasi kiosk mode, but it's really hard to, you know, kind of keep it that way. Again, the sort of unannounced push of software update that could potentially break your software. You know, if you have hundreds or thousands of headsets deployed and there's an unannounced, you know, oh, we found this bug, we have to patch it, you know, and it breaks your software. I mean, number one is that could happen, you won't even know it. Number two is it can also open up the door for other issues with the software. So, and that's never good within healthcare or enterprise or any of that. So, so that's a potential issue. And then, you know, just the kiosk mode, I think it's certainly in the private sector in many situations makes it almost a non-starter. Almost, I say, because there are places that use it in training. It's gained a little bit of traction. But even we were having a call for OpenHMD yesterday. There's I won't name them specifically, but there's an institution that has a huge training program. They're very interested in this, and they, you know, are starting to run into the Quest issues themselves on training. So this isn't even, you know, like specifically tied to, you know, healthcare proper with patients, and so it's, you know, and rinse and repeat for the different providers to different degrees, and then site of manufacture matters. You know, and you know, there's just a lot of things that need to kind of be there to be something that can really gain traction and widespread adoption. These kind of, like, you know, check boxes that give you at least the potential for a widespread seat at the table. And so that's,
So,
that's what we're trying to
so
do.
if I were to interpret that, what I'm hearing is that like a non-attenuated headset, the open HMD Vision is truly with an underline on open. So full control, user has all control, and ideally, do you see that also at the hardware level? So I know, one of the grumbles with Quest and Vision Pro and most of the current state headsets
I know where
is,
you're going with this.
don't
Yeah.
have,
Frames.
you don't have access.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Like you don't
Yeah.
have access to some of the low level kind of cameras and sensors and things like that. Is that kind of the vision? Is that you will? Is that possible?
Exactly. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, if now there are a couple of reasons why they do that, and we're gonna bring it to a point, and then the sort of, again, it's gonna be an empty canvas. We're gonna bring it to a point where it's functional, and then we'll go from there. And there'll be other options for people that want to participate, but the idea is to not intentionally prevent that, or worse yet, not intentionally only use that for, let's just say, lucrative metadata generation, which, I mean, that's obviously pervasive within big tech companies. And so we, for example, on the tapping of the frames, that's a really good example. We built in 2018, I think, on a Pico Neo 2. I built a system that tapped into the frames on a Pico Neo 2, black and white frames, to do basically computer vision object identification using a bounding box. We built a couple models, and at the time it was a really hacky workaround. We had to basically access the frames and then reproject it onto a canvas that was then reprojected over the environment, the real environment, right? And so it worked. It was pretty neat. But granted, this was 2018 hardware. I think it was the XR1 chip, something like that, maybe. And we got like a whopping 8 frames per second. But nonetheless, it worked, right? And so
those were 8 honest frames, Joe. 8
honest frames, and it was identifying like a coffee cup or a keyboard.
Hot dog, not a hot dog.
Yeah, we were using like the Coco data set, and so it was like this very whatever 20 common objects and context is what that means for the listeners. But basically, we had that working, and so again, it was like kind of this. There's been all these steps along the way, literally over the past 10 plus years, that have been kind of slow confirmations that in sum total, when Bob and I got together really seriously around the end of last year, early this year, to really move this forward. Actually, it was before that, because we announced really the effort more formally at IVRA. So it was, anyway, it was probably about 6-7 months ago now. It was really like, okay, the sort of incumbents in the headset space are not, it's just not going to happen. Like, they have different business models, and and this just needs to happen. And so, we really think that it's a strong possibility. It's just been amazing to me, because I was totally of the mindset, and still am to some extent, of fail fast. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm bullish both on the software, the hardware over the long term, again, will fix itself. But I've been blown away with how many people have reached out to us from all of those different categories: potential investors, academic sites, hospitals, and other software companies. So, we're really excited about it, and we're very motivated to keep the momentum going. It's really what the space needs.
Well, it's truly interesting, and I would be remiss to say that you should definitely consider publishing some thought piece or position on the Journal of Medical Extended Reality at some point, if you feel up to it, you or Bob, or maybe both of you. Amanda, as a new member of AMXRA, what's top of mind other than just learning about the community? What is top of mind for you and your company and your around MedXR and emerging technologies?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're really focused on getting paid reimbursement using the VR reimbursement code, DME code, and also thinking about how we are going to be building and scaling to pain clinics, understanding like who are the prescribers that want this for their patient. You know, I think I've been pleasantly surprised that right now we've just been responding to inbound of physicians who are actually, you know, reaching out and saying, hey, I'm interested in deciding between the variety of VR technologies, and a lot of the physicians are coming quite educated, or, you know, more educated than I would expect on the different offerings out there, the different business models. When you know, there's the FDA cleared ones, that's an applied VR. There are those that are more targeting like nursing homes or rehab facilities, having like just one headset in the facility, things like that. And so I'm just now, yeah, I'm just continuing to learn. And if people have connections with pain clinics or folks in neurology that are looking to learn more and partner with someone like us, that's where I'm spending the most time. I think also just educating myself on the history of like the guidelines and how who has been pushing VR to be within the healthcare field, whether it's from a lobbying perspective or for, you know, the different pain societies that exist. That's like immediate where my head's at. And then of course, thinking about future you know, grants or pools of capital to really scale the research. How, you know, we're focused right now on chronic lower back pain. We're drawing pain profiles for the entire patient body. So we know, you know, we're collecting research to understand that, but also thinking about like how this affects opioid use, thinking about cancer pain, fibromyalgia pain. Like there's a whole research side that it's, you know, if there are researchers out there as well that are excited to collaborate with a group like us, that's where we're spending time. So yeah.
Your company has roots in the SBIR process, SBIR. Sounds like you did a phase 1 and a phase 2. Are you looking at a phase 3 in the roadmap at some point, like in parallel, or?
We're phase 2 right now. Yeah, I think I was waiting to see if SBIR was going to continue to be a thing. So I think that was this week that it looks like things are
announced, right? Good. Yep.
Yeah,
and so we're back.
Yeah, so that was really exciting. Yeah, definitely open to it. I mean, we've been pretty much completely grant backed up to this point, and so also on the agenda for this year is deciding, do we go out for funding to really start scaling things, since our company is really small, just 2 of us full time, and some others covered by the grant for the research. So really this year is going to be pivotal to really turn this into something scale, both our company but also who we impact.
Are you getting any early stage kind of signal on the reimbursement side using the codes? Are you seeing money in?
Yeah, seeing money in. It's very much going through the process, I'd say, especially with workers' comp, where you can see if you're authorized or denied immediately, and working with the clinics that give us a bit more transparency on like why the yes or no. That it's been like truly wordsmithing the RFA, understanding what literature they want to see, also like pushing back against them. Like we've noticed a few claims come through that they're like, hey, we believe, according to the guidelines, that patients need to have done normal cognitive behavioral therapy before yours. And part of that is just education around like, actually in the guidelines, there's nowhere that says that needs to happen first. And we actually treat patients with cognitive behavioral therapy methods, and it's more accessible. It's in the home. So we're learning what that ideal patient profile is for the payers, but also trying to, you know, push forward the field by like pushing back where they're pushing back. And so, and understanding why, because if at the end of the day, like, that is the protocol that they want, that patients have to have done CBT before a therapy like us, great. Now we know, now we can target those patients, increase our authorization rate. And right now we're just focused on California. And so what I've heard, especially for workers' comp in California apparently is the most difficult to deal with. So the hope is that, you know, master that population, then go on to some other states, in scale and be able to come in stronger with each state. But yeah, I think it's also really great. We're working with the Boomerang Health, which is the largest pain clinic in California, 20 plus sites. And so from a perspective of like, it's their physicians that are prescribing the treatment. They have an extremely high authorization rate. They have really great relationships with payers. And so I think it's also identifying like, who are these green flag partners that know the clinics, and it's not just individual physicians, individual clinics at first. I think connecting with some of those larger brand groups, I think is helping. But again, early data, early signals, but really great that we are getting some cash in, and it's not just all denials. If anything, it's
that's a huge accomplishment. So congratulations. Are you by chance looking at the CMMI Access program, and does that fit with your model?
Like when it first came out, before they had all the details, I was so excited for that, but they don't cover DME.
Yeah,
they don't cover DME.
Like a little one-liner that's like, do not apply if you are DME, and I'm like, that's what we're going after. But we are, at least from like thinking about other codes and other pathways, from the perspective of like incentives for clinics. There are a lot of new technology codes that like when the physicians we work with prescribe for patients, they are also prescribing like 8 weekly sessions so that they can be meeting with patients weekly, which they can get reimbursed for. So there's that incentive there. But we're also working with some clinics. If they want to use our headset, go through have a patient do one of the sessions within treatment, or if they're doing fear avoidance-based therapy and they want to include some VR within it, there are new codes for that of like sessions using VR. Teaching a patient a new VR technology, and so which are really some solid reimbursement for those clinics. And so we've just been spending time also to think about like how to educate these clinics on the upside for them. We are not planning anytime soon to have clinicians on our team and becoming a pain clinic, and that's like a whole other business model. But we're choosing not to go that way, and to partner with these companies and clinics as distributors. And I'm curious as well how those are being reimbursed and covered, because I don't have transparency to that, but I'm hoping through kind of our partnerships with more of these innovative clinics who are willing to try it out. It's packaged with our code too, so that'll be learning like, do payers like the headset being in the clinic more, which is very different than right now. We think it's an upside that it's you're getting patients to be working on their pain inside the home, which should bring them into clinics to get the care that they need. So I can report back as we get more data.
What is it about California? I'm curious. I know we're running out of time. I'm just curious. What is it about California? Because my understanding is that that's also where Applied has done some activity. What makes California as a state? And I may have missed it. I apologize if I came a little bit late. But
what makes it more difficult to work with, or just like why California?
Is that the first state that you guys are going in?
Yeah.
So what made you decide California?
Oh yeah, so that's pretty personal to us. I mean, partially like I'm based here, and one of our co-founders of the technology, kind of like world-renowned pain psychologist, that some of his books and initiatives.
I know him. I've read his stuff before. Yeah.
Who?
Is it Lumley?
Oh yeah, Lumley's one of our advisors, and then actually he's in Colorado. He's at Wayne State, but Dr. Peter Abachi, he's not on the VR side, but he on the pain side. He's one of our prescribers in the Boomerang network. But I can, if you're interested, but yeah, those two very iconic to us. And so I mean, he was the one, he like worked with us to build out the protocol, and once we had the trust of him, kind of helped unlock the rest of the Boomerang network and get that full partnership. So that was really I'd say just like, small startup, like who do you know? And then the learnings around like, great, California, big state, 90% of the patients in those clinics are workers' comp. So like allows us to like for me, I had seen a lot of the digital therapeutics companies like kind of go immediately nationwide and have to par back because of scale and, you know, how timing works with venture money, versus our strategy is a bit more like own a territory, prove out the unit economics, and then potentially scale. For applied VR, their science, they were very tied to Stanford. I'm pretty sure, and Walter Greenleaf down there. So I think a lot of it is around like, what is the ecosystem you initially build on? Like, who are your advisors? And that's how you first get in to start commercializing, is you've built that trust. And you have those scientists in your camp that are tied to specific pain clinics. So, and then you can build that trust. And now we can go out to other states and not be like, hey, we don't know what authorization's like, but try prescribe it. Now we can go to people who are less invested in us initially and be like, this is what we saw across 23 clinics. These are the patient profiles. It just is kind of that step-by-step strategy we have.
Cool. Yeah. Cause I was really just curious if there was something special about.
No, I think it's just, you know, we're all here.
Yeah, no, your answer makes total sense. I was, it was just like, all right,
There's something in the water.
Cool. Yeah.
I think the other state I would have gone after partially would have also been like, Lumley is in Colorado, but also Colorado I know is just more open to like for pain, like it started with cannabis, but it's like, what are these alternative solutions? And so I think actually cannabis opened the door to start thinking about alternative solutions specifically in that state, with a lot of the different measures that they were thinking about on the science side. So it's all like it's tied to, you know, government relationships, and where those early movers are.
It's awesome. Very
That's
cool.
awesome. I am aware of the time. We did it, folks.
Yeah.
We actually went over. So we do this every month. Typically the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I think that why don't we end this with just last words? So we'll just go around the horn, but I'm gonna go backwards. So from my window, Joe, last word.
No, it's great to see everyone, and I think that the next 6 to 18 months should be really interesting for aerospace in general, in the world in general, honestly. So
6 to 18 months. That's better than the 5 to 10 years, the usual, huh? In VR,
Yeah.
5 to 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
6 to 18 months. Amanda, last word.
Thanks for Thanks for welcoming to this community. I'm glad it exists. Really excited to get to know everyone here, as well as those who will watch. Like, feel free to reach out to me. If you're an SF, always down to grab a coffee. I'm really collaborative. And so, just want to see this space succeed, want to see more headsets in patients' hands. So anything I can do to help that, I'm here.
Excellent. Triton, last word.
I would love to see more use cases. So if you're anyone, anywhere doing anything with headsets, I want to hear about what you're doing. Don't wait for conferences. Don't wait for podcasts. Post it, blogs, YouTube videos, whatever. Just put it out there. I want to see what's going on.
Amen. So you know what? I see that Amanda, Joe, you put some of your contact information and it looks like a publication link on the chat. When this gets posted on YouTube, is it okay if I add that publicly, or do you want to keep it?
Please.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You good? Okay, I will put them both in the description. For me, last word is it's just been a really exciting year so far, and I'm looking forward to AWE and seeing some of the future tech, the COTS, of course, because I think COTS kind of define a lot of what we're going to be doing. And I still think what's really fascinating is, AI is so pervasive for the last 2 years or more. And I remember last year, the promise of AI for XR was all around how it was going to totally change the user journey, because you'll be able to just tell the AI, what world you want to go to, and it'll create it, right? Or you'll be able to have natural conversations with your LLM buddy in a VR space. And, that's happening. I think what's super interesting and I think emerging is just the power of kind of AI as the developer, right? The Claude Code, the codexes of the world, and how that is going to totally change, I think change the game when it comes to software development, and certainly when it comes to XR development. And I see that along with these new kind of, XR is an umbrella term. And, we've talked a couple of months in a row, my favorite topic, heads-up displays, and the ubiquity, the slow march to ubiquity for heads-up displays. And, these glasses, the Evens, non-sponsored, they just announced their Even Hub, which is kind of their dev platform for like applets. And, I'm just thinking about the marriage of these, the democratization of code, right? You basically, these LLM kind of solutions essentially are the 3D printer for your for apps at this point. And just like 3D printers, you can build a lot of garbage, but like in the right hands and the right kind of spec, you can build something beautiful. And that's kind of, there's something really interesting about that, particularly in the emerging frontier fields like heads-up displays. So more to come. One of our colleagues, Raphael over at Virtual Medicine, Raphael Grossman, was talking about how he has a pair of, I think it was either these glasses or a similar, and he was on a flight. Yeah, maybe it was Rokids. He was on a flight and vibe coded a speed reading app during the flight. It was like a flight from Europe to LA or something like that. So it was a long flight. And by the end of it, he had this kind of functional app for his glasses, and I think that's pretty incredible. So more to come. But what a time to be alive, huh? All right.
Absolutely.
So I think with that, thank you all. Of course, this will be posted on the feed and also on YouTube and reposted on LinkedIn. With that, have a great night. See you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Great call, everyone.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.